Tonight, when you close your eyes, you'll travel somewhere. By morning, you won't remember a thing. But what if I told you that this place is far from random? What if I told you that every human who has ever lived goes there, and most spiritual traditions throughout history have tried to tell us what's really happening? You're about to discover exactly where your consciousness goes when your body shuts down. And once you realize it, sleep will never feel the same again. Right now, in just a few hours, when you drift off, your body will enter a state of complete paralysis. Your eyes will move rapidly beneath closed lids. Your brain will light up with electrical storms of activity. But here's what nobody tells you. While all of this is happening physically, something else is taking place on a level that science can barely touch. You're crossing a threshold into another realm entirely. Let me show you exactly what happens. Before we talk about where you go, you need to understand the journey that gets you there. When you first lay down, muscles releasing, breathing, slowing, you enter what sleep researchers call the first stage of NREM, non-rapid eye movement. This is the borderland, the threshold between waking and sleeping. You've felt this countless times, that sensation of drifting off on the couch, only to suddenly jerk awake. Your body is still responsive at this stage. A sound can easily bring you back. This stage lasts only minutes, but it's the opening of a doorway. About 15 minutes in, you descend deeper into stage 2. Now, your body knows this isn't just rest, it's a journey. Your temperature drops, your heartbeat steadies. If scientists were measuring your brain activity right now, they'd see something curious. Your brain waves slow into rhythmic patterns, but then there are these sharp bursts called sleep spindles and something called K-complexes. Strange names for something your brain does naturally every single night. And here's what most people don't realize. You'll spend roughly half your entire night in this stage. Not deep sleep, not dream sleep, but this in-between state, as if you're acclimating to something. Then comes stage 3. Deep, restorative, healing sleep. Your brain waves stretch out into long, slow delta rhythms. If someone tried to wake you now, it would take serious effort, shaking you, yelling your name, turning on the lights. You're far away because your body has essentially closed the door to the outside world so it can do internal work. Growth hormones flood your system. Damaged tissue repairs itself. Your immune system strengthens, and something else happens that neuroscientists have only recently discovered. Your brain literally flushes out toxins accumulated during the day through something called the glymphatic system. It's like street cleaning that only happens when the roads are empty. But here's the thing, millions of people never actually reach this stage anymore. Poor sleep hygiene, screens before bed, stress, anxiety. They're missing the preparation their consciousness needs for the deeper journey ahead. Then, approximately 90 minutes after you first closed your eyes, you arrive. REM sleep. Rapid eye movement. This is the moment I described at the beginning. Your brain becomes almost as active as it is when you're fully awake. Multiple regions light up simultaneously. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes irregular, but your muscles are completely locked. You cannot move. This isn't a malfunction. This is protection. Because in this state, you're experiencing something so vivid, so real, that if your body could move, you'd be acting it all out physically, running, fighting, flying. The brain paralyzes you on purpose. This first REM cycle lasts only about 10 minutes. Barely enough time to touch the surface of where you're going, but the night is far from over. You'll cycle back through stage 2, drop into stage 3 again, then return to REM. Each complete cycle takes about 90 minutes. And here's what changes as the night progresses. That deep sleep, stage 3, decreases with each cycle, but REM gets longer and longer. In the second cycle, it's 20 minutes. In the third cycle, 30 minutes. By the fourth cycle, you're at 40 minutes. And by your fifth cycle, around dawn, you might spend an entire hour in REM sleep. That's why weekend mornings, when you sleep in, you wake up remembering these incredibly vivid, bizarre, emotionally intense dreams. You spent more time there, in that other place. Your body knows these stages aren't optional. If you miss a night of sleep, your body will make you pay it back, but it won't recover everything equally. It prioritizes deep sleep and REM as if these are debts that must be settled first, because they're not luxuries, they're as essential to survival as water or food. Now that you understand the journey, let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain while you're in that paralyzed REM state. Because knowing you enter REM sleep is one thing, but understanding what your consciousness is doing there is something else entirely. If you could observe your brain through an MRI during REM, you'd see something that looks almost impossible. The cerebral cortex, the part of you that thinks and reasons, is firing with intense activity. The hippocampus, where memories are stored, is working overtime, processing everything you experienced while awake. The amygdala, that ancient structure that handles emotions and fear, is completely lit up. But here's what's strange. The prefrontal cortex, your logic center, the part that normally says, "This doesn't make sense," goes quiet. Its activity drops dramatically. And that's why in dreams you can fly, talk to people who are dead, be in 3 places at once, and you don't question any of it. Your rational mind has stepped aside. The paralysis we mentioned is controlled by a specific mechanism in your brain stem. For most people, it works perfectly every night. But there are some who have a condition called REM, behavior disorder. The paralysis doesn't engage properly, so they physically act out their dreams, punching walls, kicking, shouting. It's dangerous for them and anyone sleeping nearby. This tells us something crucial. The dreams aren't just happening in your head. Your body believes they're real. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who transformed psychology, looked at REM sleep and saw something deeper than just brain chemistry. He believed that when your logical mind shuts down, you access what he called the collective unconscious, not just your personal memories or experiences, but archetypal patterns and symbols that all of humanity shares across cultures and time. That's why people who've never met, who live on opposite sides of the world, dream about the same things: water symbolizing emotion, flying representing freedom, being chased meaning fear or avoidance. These aren't learned. They're built into the human psyche itself. Robert Moss, a scholar who studied both modern sleep science and ancient shamanic traditions, goes even further. He suggests that REM sleep isn't just symbolic or psychological. It's an actual doorway, a state where your consciousness can move beyond the physical body. Moss spent years researching indigenous cultures from around the world, and he found something remarkable. Shamans from tribes who never had any contact with each other describe sleep the exact same way as a journey, as leaving the body, as traveling to other realms where you meet entities, receive wisdom, and communicate with ancestors. Is that coincidence? Or is it that when the rational brain quiets down, something real opens up? If this is resonating with you, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to stay connected to this frequency of consciousness exploration. Here's an experience almost everyone has had at some point. You dream about someone you haven't thought about in years, maybe a childhood friend, a former colleague, someone completely out of your conscious awareness. What does this tell us? It's not just the brain picking random memories. It's as if your consciousness is tuned to a larger field, where connections transcend the immediate experiences of your day-to-day life. The depth of this experience is a profound reminder that sleep is not merely a biological necessity, but a spiritual voyage, one that transports you to realms of meaning, connection, and perhaps even guidance. Then, the very next day, that person calls you, or you run into them unexpectedly, and you wonder, was that just coincidence? Or during those hours in REM sleep, Did your consciousness somehow access information your waking mind couldn't? Neuroscience explains one layer of this: how the brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, reorganizes neural pathways. But mystical traditions explain the experience, the subjective reality of what you're actually going through. And here's what I'm suggesting. Maybe both are true at the same time. Maybe the brain is the hardware, the physical mechanism, and consciousness is the software, the experience itself. Scientists can measure the hardware with their instruments, but the software, what you're actually experiencing, that's different territory entirely. Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian philosopher who founded anthroposophy in the early 1900s, had a very specific understanding of sleep. He said that humans have multiple bodies. The physical body, yes, but also the etheric body, a field of vital energy, the astral body, a vehicle of consciousness, and the higher self, your deepest spiritual essence. During waking hours, all these bodies function together as one integrated unit. But when you fall asleep, a separation occurs. The physical body remains in bed. Obviously, the etheric body stays as well, maintaining basic life functions like breathing and circulation. But the astral body, that's what detaches. Not completely, because if it did, you would die, but it gains mobility. And according to Steiner, it's in this astral body that you actually travel during dreams. Now, before you dismiss this as mysticism with no foundation, understand that Steiner wasn't some fringe spiritualist. He had deep training in science and philosophy. He founded schools that still operate successfully today, including the Waldorf education system. And he was very clear: sleep is when the soul journeys. Modern neuroscience looks at all this and says it's neural activity, chemical processes, electrical impulses, and they're right. That is what shows up on the scans. But does that explanation cancel out the other? Because here's the thing. Your brain can be generating electrical activity, and you can simultaneously be having a real experience on another plane of existence. Both can be true. In fact, scientists have discovered something remarkable. During REM sleep, especially in those long cycles near morning, the visual cortex in your brain, the part that processes what you see, is just as active or more active than when you're awake looking at the physical world. Neurologically, you're seeing with the same intensity. Your brain doesn't distinguish between dream vision and waking vision. It's processing both as equally real. So when you dream you're flying over mountains or meeting a being of light or standing in a place you've never been, your brain is having that experience as if it's actually happening. The realness isn't diminished just because your physical body is asleep. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable for strict materialists and exciting for spiritual seekers. Neuroscience says dreams are essentially your brain doing maintenance, filing memories, processing unresolved emotions, reorganizing information, and research supports this. If you learn something new during the day and then get quality REM sleep, you retain that information far better. Your brain is literally transferring data from short-term to long-term storage while you sleep. People who experience trauma and then sleep poorly are significantly more likely to develop PTSD. Why? Because REM sleep never had the chance to properly process and integrate that intense emotional experience. It stays stuck, raw, unresolved. Rudolf Steiner saw the same process but described it in layers. He said, during sleep, the physical body rests in bed. The etheric body maintains life, but the astral body separates, staying connected by what many traditions call the silver cord. This isn't metaphor to Steiner. He described it as an actual energetic connection that keeps you tethered to your physical form. When you die, that cord severs completely, but during sleep, it stretches, allowing your astral body to move while ensuring you can return. Tibetan Buddhism has an entire practice dedicated to this, called Milm or Dream Yoga. The teaching is that during sleep, you pass through different bardos. Bardos are intermediate states of consciousness, transitional realms. And the Tibetan masters teach that what you experience in these bardos is just as real and meaningful as anything you experience while awake. That's why advanced practitioners train themselves to maintain full awareness during sleep, not for entertainment, but because they believe the dream state is fundamentally similar to the death state. If you can remain conscious while dreaming, you can remain conscious when you die. The training is the same. Recognizing signs that you're in an altered state, setting clear intentions before crossing the threshold, maintaining awareness as you transition between worlds. Then there's Robert Monroe, an American businessman in the 1970s who wasn't interested in spirituality at all until he started spontaneously leaving his body during sleep. The experiences terrified him at first. He thought he was losing his mind. So he went to scientists, underwent testing, trying to understand if he was experiencing some kind of mental breakdown. Instead of finding pathology, he ended up dedicating the rest of his life to researching altered states of consciousness. He founded the Monroe Institute, which still exists today. Monroe described the astral plane in very specific terms. He called different regions Focus 10, Focus 12, Focus 15, each with distinct characteristics. And here's what's striking. Other people who practiced out-of-body experiences described the same locations using the same terminology without ever having read Monroe's work or attended his programs. If this was all just imagination, how do multiple people independently map the same territory? Or look at Edgar Cayce, known as the sleeping prophet. He would put himself into a trance state, similar to deep sleep, but self-induced and controlled. And while in that state, he could access information he had absolutely no way of knowing consciously. He gave detailed medical diagnoses for people he'd never met, living in cities he'd never visited. Over 14,000 documented readings spanning 40 years, and many were later verified by doctors and confirmed as accurate. Where was he getting this information? Cayce said he was accessing what he called the Akashic Records, a kind of cosmic library where everything that has ever happened, is happening, or will happen is recorded. He wasn't talking about regular REM sleep. He was describing a specific altered state he learned to enter intentionally. But the principle is the same. Consciousness can access knowledge the physical brain doesn't possess. Now, before you think this is all just mysticism without evidence, consider the research on precognitive dreams. Dean Radin, a scientist who's worked at Stanford and Princeton, has compiled decades of data on PSI phenomena. One of the most well-documented occurrences is people dreaming of future events that later come true with striking accuracy. The most famous case is before September 11th, when several research laboratories monitoring collective consciousness registered significant anomalies, and dozens of people reported dreaming of planes crashing into buildings in the nights leading up to the attacks. You could argue coincidence, confirmation bias, pattern recognition after the fact fair criticisms. But when hundreds of reports converge on a specific event that no one consciously expected, dismissal becomes harder to justify. Neuroscience has no framework for this. How could random electrical firing in your brain show you something that hasn't happened yet? Unless the dream isn't just electrical activity, unless during those 90-minute cycles of REM, you're actually going somewhere else. A place where time functions differently, where past, present, and future aren't as separate and linear as they appear in waking consciousness. Ancient Egyptians understood this intuitively. They had deep spiritual beliefs about dreams and sleep, often considering them portals to other worlds. These ancient practices and beliefs point to something fundamental in human experience, our connection to realms beyond the physical world, to dimensions that can't be fully explained by science alone. The Egyptians were not alone in seeing dreams as pathways to wisdom, as gateways to deeper understanding of the universe and our place within it. They were tapping into a much older, universal understanding of sleep and consciousness, one that continues to influence spiritual practices today. If these concepts resonate with you, perhaps it's time to begin exploring not just your dreams, but the spaces your consciousness enters during sleep. Could there be more to these experiences than we've ever realized? Could they offer glimpses into realms and knowledge beyond our everyday perception? The more we learn about sleep, consciousness, and the human mind, the more we begin to understand that we are truly not just living in this world. We are always, in some way, connected to something far greater, something beyond our waking experiences. The ancient cultures knew something that modern science is still trying to comprehend. The Egyptians, for example, had temples specifically designed for dream incubation. People traveled to these sacred sites to sleep, to receive prophetic dreams or healing. Trained priests would interpret these dreams, and entire papyri were dedicated to the subject. To them, dreaming wasn't just a biological process, but direct communication with the divine. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, discovered a similar pattern when working with his patients. One woman, with no background in mythology or alchemy, dreamed of a serpent eating its own tail, known as the Ouroboros, a symbol that appears independently across dozens of ancient cultures. How could she access that symbol if she had never studied it? Jung's answer was the collective unconscious, a shared layer of the human psyche that goes deeper than personal memory. It's a realm where archetypes and symbols of all humanity reside, waiting to be accessed. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a dream that later came true, or showed you something you had no way of knowing? If so, drop your experience in the comments below, because you're not alone. Helena Blavatsky, the Russian mystic who founded the Theosophical Society, spent decades studying Eastern sacred texts, European esoteric traditions, and ancient philosophy. She synthesized all of it into a complex map of reality. According to Blavatsky and her successor, Annie Besant, existence consists of 7 primary planes. The physical plane is just the densest, the slowest vibrational frequency. Above it, there's the etheric plane, the astral plane, the mental plane, and so on. The astral plane is where human consciousness goes during sleep, and they didn't describe it as some vague mystical concept. They mapped it out in extraordinary detail. Its structure, inhabitants, regions, laws. The lower astral, they said, is dense, close to the physical world. It's where chaotic, confusing dreams occur, dreams influenced by personal desires, fears, and unconscious material. But as you rise through the layers of the astral, things change. The experience becomes clearer, more lucid, less dominated by ego, and more connected to universal truth. Besant wrote entire books on the subject, explaining that most people, during sleep, remain in the lower astral regions, dazed and unaware. That's why so many dreams feel disjointed and meaningless. But people who train through meditation, conscious intention, and spiritual practice can navigate to the higher astral regions. And there, the experiences are completely different, vivid, coherent, and profoundly meaningful. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, one of Buddhism's most sacred texts, teaches that death and sleep are parallel processes. In both, consciousness separates from the physical body and moves through other realms. The only difference is that in death, the silver cord that connects you to your body is cut permanently, whereas during sleep, it remains intact, pulling you back every morning. But while you're in these realms, you are genuinely in another dimension. In these states, you can encounter other beings. Some are the consciousness of other sleeping humans. Others are entities who exist permanently in these planes, and some may even be enlightened teachers capable of transmitting wisdom directly to you. Advanced practitioners of dream yoga in Tibetan Buddhism have very specific techniques they use before sleeping. They engage in visualizations, chant mantras, and set clear intentions about where they want to go and what they want to learn. These practitioners report strikingly consistent experiences, meeting the same spiritual masters repeatedly, visiting the same locations, and receiving teachings that they later find word for word in ancient texts they've never read before. How is that possible if each person's dreams are simply random neural noise? What we're exploring here today barely scratches the surface of what's possible when you understand consciousness as frequency transmission. The astral journey during sleep is just one of 9 master frequencies you can learn to consciously navigate and embody. If you feel called to go deeper into the complete system and understand how to move from unconscious transmission to becoming the conscious broadcast itself, I've written a comprehensive guide called Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It maps out the entire journey from seeking to being, with step-by-step practices for each frequency layer. It's linked in the pinned comment below. Alan Card, a French educator in the 1800s, interviewed hundreds of mediums and compiled their testimonies about the spiritual world. Across all of them, he found the same descriptions. Different dimensions of existence, spiritual communities, and cities in the astral plane where souls who've passed on reside. And here's what's relevant to sleep. The mediums consistently said that living humans visit these places every night while asleep. There are documented cases of people dreaming of deceased relatives who showed them where they were now living. And when the dreamer woke up and described the place to a medium who had never met them, the medium said, "Yes, I know that location. I've been there too." How does that work if each brain is supposedly generating its own private hallucination with no connection to anyone else's? Look at the pattern here. Theosophy, Tibetan Buddhism, shamanic traditions, ancient Egyptian religion, spiritism, 5 completely different systems, separated by geography, culture, and centuries. And they all say essentially the same thing. There is a non-physical plane of existence that you visit during sleep. This plane has structure, it has inhabitants, it has its own natural laws, and you can learn to navigate it consciously if you develop the skill. Science can't prove this, but it also can't disprove it. There are phenomena that make strict materialists uncomfortable. Consider cases of people in deep comas who later wake up and accurately describe conversations that happened in the room, while they were unconscious conversations they should have had no way of knowing about because their brain activity was minimal or flatlined. But they say, "I left my body. I floated near the ceiling. I saw and heard everything." If consciousness is purely a product of brain activity, then when the brain shuts down, there should be no experience at all. But there is. Rudolf Steiner taught that you don't just visit the astral plane passively, you work there. During sleep, your higher self, the most evolved aspect of your being, meets with spiritual guides and beings to plan your soul's evolution. The choices you make while awake, the lessons you're learning, the karma you're working through, all of this is reviewed and guided from the astral plane while your physical body sleeps. The Hermetic tradition, which traces back to ancient Egypt and influenced Western mysticism for centuries, speaks of a fundamental principle: as above, so below; as below, so above. The planes of existence mirror each other. What happens on the physical plane reflects in the astral, and vice versa. And during sleep, you're literally crossing between these mirrors, stepping out of the physical reflection and into the astral one. Hermetic practitioners developed very specific techniques for conscious astral projection. Medieval grimoires contain detailed instructions, visualizations, body postures, sounds to vocalize, all designed to help separate the astral body from the physical intentionally. They kept journals of their journeys, written records describing what they found, the beings they met, and the knowledge they received. There's even a quantum physics interpretation that could bridge the gap between science and spirituality. The many worlds theory suggests that infinite parallel realities exist simultaneously. Every possibility generates a different universe. What if the astral plane is like an intermediate dimension where all those possibilities exist at once? And during sleep, your consciousness can perceive beyond the single timeline you experience while awake. It's not supernatural. It's just different frequencies of the same multidimensional reality. During sleep, you tune your awareness to a different frequency. That's it. Now, you might not believe any of this. That's completely fine. You might think it's all just neurons firing randomly in patterns that create the illusion of meaning. But you can't deny that billions of people throughout human history, across every continent and culture, describe nearly identical experiences. And many of those experiences have tangible consequences, healings that can't be explained, insights that prove accurate, predictions that come true, encounters that change lives permanently. So now that you know this place exists, whether you call it the astral plane, the dream realm, the bardos, the spiritual world, the quantum field, or something else entirely, the question becomes, can you control it? Can you go there consciously, knowing you're there, and remember afterward? When you realize you're dreaming, move your eyes left to right 3 times in sequence. And it worked. The person asleep, deeply immersed in REM sleep with their body fully paralyzed, moved their eyes exactly as agreed, showing up clearly on the polygraph recording. This provided the first solid scientific proof that you can be fully conscious and fully asleep at the same time. Lucid dreaming, as Lerge called it, is a phenomenon that anyone can learn. It's not a rare gift, it's a trainable skill. He developed specific methods for inducing lucid dreams: reality testing during waking hours, dream journaling, and intention setting before sleep. With these practices, people began to have transformative experiences. Lerge published his findings in the early 1980s, gave lectures, and revolutionized sleep science. However, Tibetan Buddhists have been teaching the principles of lucid dreaming for over 1,000 years. Dream Yoga, known as Milam in Tibetan, is an advanced spiritual practice that shares the same goal: staying conscious during dreams. But for Tibetan practitioners, the purpose isn't for entertainment or exploration, it's training for death. They believe that the dream state and the death state are fundamentally similar. If you can maintain awareness while dreaming, you can maintain awareness when you die. The techniques used by Tibetan Buddhists are remarkably similar to what Lerge developed independently through scientific research, recognizing dream signs, setting intentions, and maintaining awareness during the transition from waking to sleeping. The Tibetans, however, have been doing this for centuries. There's an old Tibetan text that lays out the path clearly. Recognize that you are dreaming, transform the dream, practice in the dream, and understand the illusory nature of all phenomena. Now, let me show you how to actually do this step by step, from beginner to advanced. The foundation of everything is the dream journal. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but before you can become conscious in your dreams, you need to remember them. Most people don't. You dream every single night, spending hours in dreams, but within 5 minutes of waking, it's gone. Why? Because your brain doesn't consider dreams important enough to encode into long-term memory. But when you start writing them down every day, you're sending a signal to your brain: this matters, I want to remember. And your brain responds. After 1 to 2 weeks of consistent journaling, you start remembering more dreams with greater detail and clarity. Here's how. Keep a physical notebook and pen next to your bed, not your phone. The screen light from your phone disrupts sleep patterns and makes recall harder. The moment you wake up, before you move, before you check anything, Before you go to the bathroom right then, write down whatever you remember, even if it's just fragments. I was in a house I didn't recognize. There was a dog that looked wrong. I felt anxious. Anything. Some mornings you'll wake with no memory at all. Write that down too. No dream recall today. The act of recording is what builds the habit, not the content itself. After a week or two, you'll start noticing patterns, certain locations recurring, specific people showing up, situations that repeat with variations. The second practice is reality testing. This is where many people feel silly, but it works incredibly well. The technique is to build a habit of questioning whether you're awake or dreaming multiple times throughout the day. If you do this consistently while awake, you'll eventually do it in the dream too. And that's when recognition happens. Choose specific triggers. Every time you walk through a doorway, pause and ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? Every time you look at your phone, ask the question. Every time you see your hands, question your state. And don't just ask on autopilot, really investigate. Look around for anything unusual. Try to remember how you arrived where you are. Do a physical test. Try pushing the index finger of one hand through the palm of the other. While awake, it obviously won't go through, but in a dream, it will. You're training your awareness to have this reflex. So when you're in a dream and perform the reality check, and your finger passes through your hand like water, you'll instantly realize that you're dreaming. The third practice is setting intentions before sleep. This comes from both Tibetan Yoga and Lurge's research. Before you turn off the light, make a clear statement. Tonight, I will recognize that I'm dreaming. Repeat this phrase mentally as you're falling asleep. I will recognize that I'm dreaming. I will recognize that I'm dreaming. Your subconscious is listening. Some people use variations like, I will see my hands in my dream, or I will fly in my dream, whatever works as a recognition trigger. The key is to set the intention without grasping at results. Don't force it. State it clearly, then let it go. The fourth technique is wake back to bed, WBTB. This is more advanced, but dramatically increases your chances of having a lucid dream. Here's the method. Set an alarm for 5 hours after you fall asleep. When it goes off, get up and stay awake for 20 to 30 minutes. Read about lucid dreaming or write in your journal to activate your mind gently. Then return to bed with strong intention. Now I will become conscious in my next dream. Why does this work? After 5 hours, you've completed most of your deep sleep cycles, and the remaining cycles will be REM heavy. Since you just woke your mind up, your awareness is more active, making it easier to carry that awareness into the dream state. Yes, it's disruptive to wake up in the middle of the night, but the effectiveness is remarkable. The fifth technique is the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, MILDA, which was Lurge's favorite and the one he researched most extensively. You combine multiple elements. Wake naturally from a dream or use the WBTB method. Recall as much of the dream as possible and identify a moment where something strange happened, something that could have been a sign you were dreaming. Then mentally replay that dream, but this time recognize the sign. You become lucid. Tell yourself clearly, next time I'm dreaming, I will recognize I'm dreaming. Repeat this visualization until you fall back asleep. You're training pattern recognition, teaching your brain to spot the signs. Lurge reported a success rate above 50% with this technique. Half the time he used it, he achieved lucidity. The sixth practice is called the hand-gazing technique, developed by Carlos Castaneda. During the day, look at your hands multiple times. Really observe them, count your fingers, notice the lines and creases, pay close attention to details. And while you do this, affirm internally, I will see my hands in my dream. Why hands specifically? Because they're a body part you can easily observe in a dream, and when you manage to focus on them, your attention anchors. Lucidity stabilizes. In dreams, when you look at your hands, they may appear distorted, extra fingers, missing fingers, fingers that move independently. The moment you notice this strangeness, you know you're dreaming. Castaneda taught that the first milestone in the art of dreaming is successfully viewing your hands while asleep. The seventh method is pre-sleep meditation. Eastern traditions emphasize this strongly. Meditate for 15 to 20 minutes before bed. Nothing elaborate is required. Just sit, breathe, and observe your mind without attachment. What does this accomplish? It increases mental clarity, quiets the constant internal dialogue, and when you enter sleep from a state of calm awareness, carrying that awareness into the dream becomes easier. There's a specific Tibetan variation where you visualize a glowing lotus at your throat chakra and hold that image as you fall asleep. The idea is that maintaining conscious visualization helps you cross from waking to sleeping without losing awareness. It's advanced. Most people lose the image and drift off, but it's worth practicing. The eighth consideration is natural supplements. While I'm not a medical professional, it's worth knowing that certain substances enhance dream vividness and recall. Vitamin B6, for example, has been shown to significantly improve dream memory. Galantamine, a supplement used for cognitive enhancement, increases the likelihood of lucid dreams when combined with the WBTB method. But approach this carefully, do your research thoroughly, and make sure anything you take is safe for you. Supplements are facilitators, not substitutes for the mental training itself. After learning all these techniques, people often ask, how long until it works? The answer varies. Some people achieve their first lucid dream within days, others take months. It depends on your consistency, your natural dream recall ability, and how much you practice. But what helps tremendously is maintaining positive expectation without attachment to results. As you prepare to close your eyes tonight, you may find yourself wondering what exactly happens during sleep. The body enters a state of complete paralysis, the eyes moving rapidly beneath closed lids, and the brain lights up with bursts of electrical activity. But what happens beyond this physical process? What is your consciousness actually doing while your body rests? For most people, sleep is an unconscious journey into the unknown. But if you look deeper, you will find that the realm you enter is not as random or disconnected from reality as we might think. It is not a mere unconscious process of rest and relaxation. It is a vital journey that allows you to process, heal, and explore dimensions beyond the material world. And with lucid dreaming, you can consciously navigate this journey. The reality is that while scientists can measure the physical processes of sleep, such as the brain's electrical activity, rapid eye movement, REM, and the paralyzation of muscles, they are not able to fully explain what is happening on a conscious level. For that, we must look at the ancient spiritual traditions that have long recognized the significance of sleep as a passageway to realms beyond the physical body. From Tibetan Buddhism to Western mysticism, many spiritual practices emphasize the idea that sleep is not simply a break from consciousness, but an opportunity for the soul to journey through different planes of existence. In fact, the experience of sleep and dreaming is not just symbolic or random. It is a tangible experience of a separate realm. One of the most intriguing aspects of sleep, especially during the REM cycle, is that the brain becomes almost as active as when you're awake. The cerebral cortex, the part of your brain that processes thinking and reasoning, fires intensely. The hippocampus, where memories are stored, works overtime, consolidating the day's experiences. At the same time, your brain enters a state of lucid dreaming, in which you may become aware that you are dreaming. The paradox here is that while the body is in a state of paralysis, your consciousness is freed, allowing you to explore realms beyond the physical. In fact, Many traditions, such as Tibetan Buddhism, believe that sleep is a form of spiritual practice. They suggest that the dream state is not just an unconscious event, but an essential part of our journey through the universe. The belief is that when we sleep, our astral body, one of our spiritual bodies, detaches from the physical form and travels through the astral plane, a realm that exists beyond our physical experience. But if you think about it, dreams are not just random products of the brain. They can offer us insights, guide us through spiritual lessons, or provide us with wisdom from higher realms. Many people have experienced instances where they dream of someone they haven't thought about in years, only for that person to suddenly call or appear in their life the very next day. This is not just coincidence. These instances suggest that our consciousness may access information beyond the limits of our physical body and our waking mind. The experience of lucid dreaming, the ability to become conscious of your dreams while in them, is one of the most profound ways to access these deeper planes of existence. Through techniques such as dream journaling, reality testing, and intention setting before sleep, anyone can learn how to become lucid in their dreams. This skill can take time to develop, but with consistent practice, you will find that you can consciously navigate the astral plane during sleep, traveling to places you never imagined, and meeting beings of light who can offer you wisdom. The key to lucid dreaming lies in the state of mind you cultivate before you fall asleep. As with anything else, setting an intention and cultivating calm curiosity is essential. If you go to sleep with the mindset of, "I trust the process, and I don't desperately need it to happen tonight," your chances of achieving lucidity increase dramatically. Anxiety blocks the process, causing tension that prevents the calm awareness needed for lucidity. Instead, approach it with a sense of gentle curiosity. "I'll practice, and if it happens, wonderful. If not, that's fine too. I'll try again tomorrow." Eventually, if you persist, you will experience lucidity. When you achieve it, the possibilities become limitless. You can explore memories from past lives, if you believe in such things, meet spiritual guides, or consciously navigate the astral plane. But there's an important warning to keep in mind. Do not try to dominate the experience. There is a key difference between egoic lucidity and receptive lucidity. Egoic lucidity happens when you enter a dream and immediately try to control everything, manifesting objects, changing the environment, and acting as though you are a god in the dream world. There is nothing inherently wrong with this approach at first. It can be fun, liberating, and exhilarating. But if you stay in this mode, you miss the deeper purpose of lucid dreaming. Receptive lucidity, on the other hand, is where you enter the dream not with control, but with openness. You ask questions rather than issue commands. You explore rather than manipulate. When you approach it with this mindset, something surprising happens. Dream characters you assumed were merely projections start acting autonomously. They may tell you things you didn't consciously know, or show you places you never imagined. You start to question, are these projections of my subconscious mind, or are they something more? If the astral plane is real, then you are not alone there. You will meet other consciousnesses, other souls traveling while their bodies sleep. You may encounter entities that live permanently in these realms. In advanced lucid dreams, these encounters can be profound and enlightening. Robert Moss, who has written extensively on lucid dreaming, describes meeting dream companions, beings who show up repeatedly in dreams, with continuity and personality, and who teach you things. These companions may be guides, aspects of your higher self, or souls you've known in other lifetimes. The interpretation depends on your belief system, but the experiences are consistent among practitioners. However, not everything in the astral plane is benevolent. There are shadow aspects, entities that feed off fear, and gatekeepers in certain regions who will challenge you. This is when lucid dreams can become frightening. But here's the crucial point. If you're conscious, you have power. Fear only dominates when you're unaware. When you're lucid and encounter something terrifying, you have two options. You can choose to wake up by deciding to return to your body, or you can face it consciously. And when you do, the fear usually transforms. The monster reveals its true nature. Almost always, it's a personified fear from within yourself. When you embrace it in a lucid dream, when you integrate that fear, something in you changes permanently. And that's why lucid dreaming is such a powerful tool for personal growth. The day you succeed for the first time and realize, I'm dreaming and I know I'm dreaming, you'll understand why this practice is so important. It's not just about learning a technique. It's about discovering that consciousness is far more expansive than you ever thought. You can exist without a physical body and still be aware, still be alive in a very real sense. But what if you can't sleep at all? What happens if you're working late, staring at screens, drinking too much caffeine, or feeling too anxious to sleep? Most people are not getting the 78 hours of sleep their body needs, and eventually, the body collects what's owed. One night of poor sleep makes you irritable, distracted, and sluggish. 2 or 3 nights in a row, and your memory starts to fail. You forget conversations, lose track of things, and can't focus. That's because without adequate REM sleep, the hippocampus can't transfer short-term to long-term memory. Sleep deprivation doesn't just affect your memory, it also affects your physical health. Chronic sleep deprivation weakens your immune system, causes inflammation in your body, and increases your risk for diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. But perhaps the worst damage occurs mentally. Poor sleep increases your chances of developing depression, anxiety, and even psychosis. It becomes a vicious cycle. Depression disrupts sleep, and lack of sleep exacerbates depression. When sleep quality deteriorates, the amygdala, the brain's fear processing center, becomes hyperactive. You begin reacting to minor stressors as though they are life-threatening situations. In cases of PTSD, poor sleep causes traumatic memories to remain stuck in the brain, never properly processed or integrated. This is why sleep hygiene is a foundational aspect of mental health treatment. Without good sleep, healing cannot occur. So, you must prioritize sleep. Your body needs it, your brain needs it, your soul needs it. And now that you understand the importance of sleep and lucid dreaming, you have the potential to access higher realms of consciousness, process unresolved emotions, and heal on a deeper level. By maintaining a consistent practice and staying patient, you can unlock the full potential of your dreams, transforming sleep into a powerful tool for personal and spiritual growth. The end of each day, where it goes when the body rests and the mind drifts into the unknown. You see, the journey of consciousness during sleep isn't as random as we might think. It's a carefully orchestrated process, one that holds profound significance for each of us if we choose to engage with it consciously. The truth is, many people sleep through life. They spend their nights in a fog, unaware of the expansive possibilities that exist beyond the physical body. They wake up every morning with no recollection of their dreams, assuming that they were just a byproduct of brain activity. But what if there's more to it? What if, as ancient traditions and modern science suggest, sleep is not just a state of unconsciousness, but a doorway to another realm, one that holds valuable insights, lessons, and experiences for our soul? Imagine this. Every night, you journey to a realm where time is fluid, where past, present, and future blur together. This realm, often referred to as the astral plane, is where your consciousness travels while your body remains still. The question is, will you continue this journey unconsciously, as you always have, or will you bring awareness to it? The decision to bring awareness to your dreams and to consciously engage with the realms you visit during sleep is powerful. By doing so, you open yourself to a deeper understanding of your true nature, your soul's purpose, and the lessons you are meant to learn in this lifetime. Many spiritual traditions have long understood the significance of dreams and the states of consciousness we enter during sleep. These traditions teach us that we are not just physical beings confined to our bodies, but multidimensional beings with the capacity to explore realms beyond the physical. As you embark on this journey of conscious sleep exploration, you will begin to notice that not everyone has the same experience in the dream world. Some people encounter peaceful landscapes, helpful guides, and vivid, uplifting experiences. For them, the journey is smooth and harmonious. But for others, the dream world can be filled with resistance, shadow figures, and difficult tests. These challenges may feel heavy, and the dreams may seem chaotic or frightening. But what if this mirrors your waking life? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have an easier path than others? Why some souls carry more burdens than others? Is it simply bad luck, cosmic injustice, or is there a deeper reason at play? Many spiritual teachings suggest that the challenges we face in life are not random, but part of a larger design, a design we have agreed to before entering the physical world. Karmic debts, soul agreements, and lessons from previous lifetimes all play a role in shaping our experiences. So, before you close your eyes tonight, I want to ask you this. Are you willing to bring awareness to your journey? Are you ready to embrace the possibility that the challenges you face in your dreams, just like those in your waking life, are not meaningless but part of a greater design? The answer to these questions is not only important for your spiritual growth, but also for your personal transformation. By choosing to remember, choosing to awaken, you are making a powerful declaration to the universe that you are no longer willing to sleepwalk through life or through your dreams. You are choosing to live with conscious intent. Now, as you embark on this journey of conscious exploration, remember this. The more you engage with your dreams, the more you will begin to understand that they are not just random neural activity. Your dreams hold the potential to reveal hidden truths, to unlock memories from past lives, and to guide you toward deeper self-awareness. They are not merely distractions, they are gateways to understanding who you truly are. And this is where the spiritual practices of dream yoga come in. Tibetan Buddhists have been practicing conscious dreaming for centuries, believing that the dream state is a crucial part of spiritual development. They teach that sleep is not just a time for rest, but a time for the soul to embark on a journey of self-discovery, healing, and growth. By training to remain aware during sleep, they believe that we can transcend the limitations of the physical body and access higher planes of consciousness. But how do you begin? The first step is simple. Set the intention to remember. Keep a dream journal by your bed and record whatever fragments of dreams you can remember upon waking. This practice sends a signal to your subconscious that you value your dreams and are ready to engage with them consciously. Over time, this practice will help you recall more dreams with greater clarity and detail. Next, you must begin to test your reality during the day. This is a technique used in lucid dreaming to help you become aware of your state while dreaming. By consistently asking yourself, "Am I dreaming?" throughout the day, you will eventually carry this question into your dreams. When you do, you'll be able to recognize that you are, indeed, dreaming. Setting clear intentions before sleep is another powerful tool. Repeat to yourself, "Tonight, I will recognize that I am dreaming," as you fall asleep. This helps program your subconscious mind to become aware during the dream state. Let go of any attachment to the outcome, but trust that the process will unfold in its own time. For those ready to take it a step further, advanced techniques like the wake back to bed method can significantly increase your chances of experiencing lucidity. This method involves setting an alarm to wake you after a few hours of sleep, staying awake for a brief period, and then returning to sleep with the intention to become lucid. Remember, as you embark on this journey of self-discovery, do not try to control the experience. Approach your dreams with receptivity rather than ego. The more you attempt to control everything, the more you will miss the deeper lessons available to you. By remaining open to the experience, you will discover that your dreams hold the keys to wisdom, healing, and growth. As you gain more control over your dreams, you may encounter spiritual guides, visit other realms, or even face challenges that allow you to confront your deepest fears. And when you face these fears, you will realize that they are not external forces, but projections of your own consciousness. By embracing them, you integrate their lessons and emerge stronger, more whole. When you begin to navigate the dream world consciously, you will understand the profound significance of sleep. It is not just a time for rest, it is a time for spiritual growth, self-discovery, and connection to higher realms of consciousness. And with each journey, you will learn to navigate the waking world with greater awareness, clarity, and purpose. Before you close your eyes tonight, take a moment to reflect on the journey ahead. Set your intention, trust the process, and remember, your consciousness is far more expansive than you've been led to believe. It's time to awaken and explore the boundless realms of existence that await you in your dreams.